So you want to know what AP Computer Science A is all about. Well, before I answer that question, let's talk about what AP is. AP is otherwise known as Advanced Placements, are exams offered by the College Board, and they offer exams in a variety of subjects. In math, we got AP Calculus, AB and BC. We got English language, and English literature. We have a bunch of sciences: physics, chemistry, biology, environmental science, and we have a variety of electives as well, like music theory. Anyway, they offer exams in a variety of subjects, and they're all equivalent to a semester-long college class. And if you pass, right, and meet the minimum scoring requirement, you can actually get college credit depending on the university or college that you end up going to. So it's graded on a 1 through 5 scale. 5 is highly qualified, 4 is pretty qualified, 3 is qualified, 2 is maybe qualified, and 1 is no recommendation. 3 is like the minimum if you want any potential to get college credit. I know that most community colleges would accept a 3. However, more private colleges would mainly want to see a 4 on an AP exam if you want to have a chance of getting college credit. And if you go one to those top tier schools like the Ivy Leagues, a 5 is a must in most cases. And they all translate into different grades. So 5 would be an A, 4 would be an A minus to minimum probably B, 3 would be B minus to C minus, and then 2, 1, I can't accurately say it, but you can make your own interpretation on what those skills would be. Alright, so what is AP Computer Science? AP Computer Science is a college level programming class where we stress 3 different skills, right? So we're going to learn object-oriented programming, how a bunch of objects make this one object that we want to execute a certain function. We also stress algorithm development, the sequence of events, because let's be honest, right? Computers are very dumb individuals. I know that you get a lot of information from computers, right? And they do a lot of things that you probably can't do. But computers are very dumb individuals. And I know it sounds kind of weird because I'm saying this right through a computer. But again, you have to be accurate in your sequence of events, and sort of tagging along to that would be an abstraction. So we have to combine the abstraction and algorithm development in order to execute object-oriented programming. And if you had no idea what I said, don't worry about it. We learned this in the class, right? These are skills that we develop over the class, and we're going to be using the Java programming language to learn computational thinking. So a set or a way of solving problems or a way that a computer can execute it. Alright, so the exam details. There are 2 sections to the exam. We have a multiple choice section, and in that multiple choice section we have 40 multiple choice questions, and you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to answer that question. So that's roughly around 2 minutes, give or take a little bit less. There's also a free response question. There are 4 free response questions, and you have 1 hour and 45 minutes to answer it. So, multiple choice. There is no guessing penalty. What do I mean by that? Well, if you take like an SAT subject test, you don't really want to start guessing or putting answers that you do not know are the right answer. You want to be sure, because it's better than because if you omit the answer, you actually don't get a subtraction of those points, right? But if you guess and get it wrong, right, they actually subtract some portion, like a partial credit of your score. That is not the case with AP exams. We're encouraged to answer every question, and at the same time, we shouldn't waste our time. So if you're struggling with a question, right, and you're realizing that you're spending a lot of time, just move on, right? Make sure to put an answer, because there is no guessing penalty, right? You're encouraged to answer every question, but again, don't stress over one problem. Move on. And it is Scantron graded, and what's important about Scantrons, I know this is a little bit, it's not like exam season yet, but Scantron is very important because just a single mistake, it cannot be about the exam. Like, let's say it's not about making a stupid mistake on the exam itself. It's just simply putting the answer, and you do not want to be that person that gets, it could be the difference between a 4 or 5 or 3 or 4. So please, if you want to erase something on the Scantron, erase it properly, right, and then bubble in the correct answer. So please don't be that person that gets points off because they put in the answer right. They did all this good work on the packet, but then when you put in the Scantron, please don't be that person. Alright, free response questions. There are 9 points per free response question, and there is partial credit, unlike the multiple choice section. And what do I mean by that? You are encouraged to answer every question, right? And if you struggle like halfway because they are in multiple parts, you do have multiple parts to some FRQs, and if there's a significant part that you do not, if there's a part of a FRQ that you do not know, but you can do the other part of the FRQ, please do that, because at least you're getting some points from that question. You don't want to leave an FRQ blank. There's an AP Java subset. That's sort of like a reference sheet. We'll get to that later in the course, but it's important to reference that. You can, again, offer your own programming sort of solutions, right? But all FRQs can be done with the reference sheet. So you don't need any like advanced out of the top programming, right? I mean, you can, and they will grade it, and you will get points, but there's usually a more efficient solution with the AP Java subset. So I'll leave it at that. In Java, you can write comments in your code. Comments are just non-executed not programs, but like statements. And you don't really get extra points for that. And I'm pretty sure like all the graders don't even give like a second look to it. Which again reminds me about the human graded section. Please write clearly. Make their job a little bit more easier. And I mean, they do put in the work to actually try to get what you're writing down, but it's much more easier if you have the your answer clearly written and it's readable. All right, so according to the College Board, this is not exactly actually how I set it up, but the College Board sets up the course like this: Unit 1 being primitive types, that encompasses around 2.5 to 5%. Unit 2 is using objects, that's 5 to 7.5%. Unit 3 is Boolean expressions and if statements, 15 to 17.5%. Iteration, 17.5 to 22.5%. Unit 5, writing classes, 5 to 7.5%. Unit 6, arrays, 10 to 15%. Array list is Unit 7 at 2.5 to 7.5%. To the arrays at Unit A, 7.5 to 10%. Then Unit 9, inheritance, 5 to 10%, and then finally we got recursion, 5 to 7.5%. So if you don't know if you don't understand a bunch of these wording that they use for the syllabus, or rather the structure of the course, don't worry about it. It's actually a lot easier than you would expect it to be. My ultimate goal is that you learn all of this, right, and have a good grasp, and you could even potentially get a perfect score in the exam. This is actually one of the few exams that I think the College Board offers that is actually relatively easy. Like AP Calculus, I think there's like only like 6 or 8 people that like get perfect scores worldwide, but AP CSA, there's like a bunch of people that actually get perfect scores on this. So if you acquire all the skills to this course, I see no trouble with you actually getting a 5 and even potentially getting a perfect score. Alright, so the necessary materials: please have a working computer. I'm assuming that you're watching this video on some type of computer, but Mac, Windows, it doesn't really matter. Just have a computer at the ready, because we need to have a place to write our programs, and we write our programs in Java. On that computer, we're going to have an integrated development environment, otherwise known as an IDE for short. That's how it's recognized most of the time. If you don't know what that means, it's basically where we're going to put the programs, right? Where we're going to type the programs, and how is the computer going to understand those programs. And don't worry about it. We're going to do this in the next video, right? We're going to download all the necessary software that we would need for this course. So there's a bunch of software options, but I usually recommend JGraphs. That's my personal favorite. But there's BlueJ, Eclipse if you're doing GUI. Again, we'll get to that in the next video. And a determined mindset. There are some complex concepts within AP Computer Science A, but I'm a firm believer that you can and you will understand them. So, resources to help. We have the College Board. In my opinion, the College Board is the best resource for any AP exam, because more specifically for the free response questions, they have all their free response questions from past administrations on their website. So that's like perfect practice for your AP exam. Just grind a bunch of FRQs, right? See where your gaps are and try to fix those gaps. The other 2 resources that I would recommend is Barron's AP Computer Science A and Albert I.O. This in no way is a sponsorship. These are just resources that I utilized when I was taking AP Computer Science A. Barron's AP Computer Science A specifically if you can crush Barons, I think you can crush the test, like easily perfect score, because the questions in there are hard. One of my only concerns is that it doesn't teach programming, but it's very hard for a textbook or a prep book to teach programming. So that's like where videos like mine come in. Albert IO is kind of the same, but it's just a bunch of questions. So they don't teach concepts like Barons. It is just to grind a bunch of questions. That's like the College Board, even though I recommend the College Board a little bit more because that's like first party materials. Albert IO, they specialize in making much harder questions so that when you take the actual exam, it's a breeze, right? So you're already ready for that. Now, why should you take this course? Well, even if you're not even taking AP Computer Science, you should take this course because this is an introductory programming class, right? And with getting programming as one of your skill sets, it opens up a many career paths. And we don't realize this, but a bunch of our stuff that we utilize on a daily basis can and requires programming. I mean, microwaves, toasters, just look at the kitchen. That's like a prime example where a bunch of programming is necessary in order to execute the function. And by programming, we have to adopt a very advanced critical thinking mindset. And again, this sort of develops over time, but you look at the world much more differently. You see how many things actually make up a total event. It's not just that thing. It's not just an abstraction. Within that abstraction, there is a sequence of events. There are algorithms that are necessary in order to function it. And inevitably, technology is the future. I mean, technology is advancing day by day, and programming is one of the basic things that is necessary for technology to advance. And we got machine learning, we got artificial intelligence coming, and at least by taking an introductory programming class, you'll get like a head start or get influence into diving deeper within the technological field. And with that being said, let's get coding.